Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, we're covering In Your House 5, Seasons Beatings. Do you know how they came up with a name for that?
I hope it's not because people beating themselves up over the fact that they missed out or have not used our promo code yet to buy something from Manscaped, and they're just upset with themselves. Hopefully that's not the case. No,
it's actually because the phrase that's commonly used is Seasons Greetings.
Oh, look at, play on words.
It's a play on words.
I'm familiar with that. I think my reason is a little bit better, but you know what? I get where people are coming from. I understand that. And so hopefully, people aren't beating themselves up after this post-holiday lull. Everybody's recovered a little bit. You might even be back to work. One thing we want to make sure everybody's doing though, our promo code's always working. Payoff 20, free shipping, like 20% off, manscaped.com. We're bringing it to you as much as possible. Start the new year right. If that, I don't know about you, my resolution, you know what? I'm going to use it a second time every week. Why not? Whether it's something.
If Santa gave you some cash and you want to buy yourself something, go over to manscaped.com, get yourself a nice package of stuff. Maybe you have the 4.0, but you want the Weed Whacker ear and nose trimmer. I don't even know if I've shared this. I bought the shampoo and conditioner, and I bought the body wash. Very happy with it. I'm just going to use it from now on. Nice, sleek can, one pump, boom, enough soap or shampoo. It's fantastic.
Tom and I absolutely we use the products. They're worth it. We recommend that anybody does.
That is right. We love it. Yeah. So Payoff 20. So let's get down to business. Why did you want to cover this one?
Perfect timing. Like you said, season's beating, season's greetings, however you want to look at it. This was just a one that worked out, this time of year. And so who doesn't love, I said it last week too, who doesn't love a good Bret Bulldog match too? And so these guys, great workers together kind of when they're out there. And so this one just made sense for us to throw into the mix and really end the year with a great one.
Agreed. And some people have said this match is better than their SummerSlam match at Wembley. I don't know. I do remember this being brutally awesome. So I'm really, really excited to cover it. Let's jump right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
December 17th, 1995. So just 8 days before Christmas, we're in Hershey, PA at the Hershey Park Arena, 7,000 fans. Those In Your House cards were always interesting. We start with Razor Ramon and Marty Jannetty defeating the 1-2-3 Kid and Sid. So this is when Sid's part of the $1 Million Corporation, as is the 1-2-3 Kid. But kind of an interesting spot. Usually Sid was presented as a main eventer, but he's losing a tag match here with Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid in it. Ahmed Johnson would defeat Buddy Landell. Hunter Hearst Helmsley would defeat Henry O. Godwin in a hog pen match. That's the famous hog pen match. It'd be fun to go back. If you're going to watch this match we're covering, maybe go back.
I got it on the list for us too.
Yeah, we got it. We got to cover that at some point. Hey, maybe we can get Henry on the show. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Owen Hart defeats Diesel by DQ in 4 minutes. Then the Undertaker defeating King Mabel in a casket match, 6 minutes. Then
got that one on our list too, fortunately.
Yeah, then our main event. So interesting. After the show went off the air, there were 2 dark matches. Goldust defeating Duke the Dumpster Droese, Triple H's other big rival during this period. And Barry Horowitz, Hakushi, and the Smoking Guns in an 8-man tag defeating Yokozuna, Isaac Yankem, DDS, and the Body Donnas. So before there was a DMD, there was a DDS.
With the jokes today, look at you. Too, I know Tom being, Pennsylvania born and things like that. Did you ever make it up to Hershey Park Arena?
Never to the arena, but I played in a soccer tournament in Hershey, and absolutely true story. Hershey, PA smells like chocolate. They actually pump chocolate into the air so that the town smells like it. You can smell it when you're at Hershey Park or you're at the arena or in the area. Pretty interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So build standpoint, obviously there's a ton to cover. How did we get to these guys?
Yeah, this one. And so we'll kind of start with Bret and kind of where Bret's at. And kind of having that. And so going off of course, this was post his least favorite, worst pay-per-view match that he ever had with Bob Backlund in the I Quit match at WrestleMania 11. And so, after that, and so this is when really the first in your house pay-per-views kind of started being a thing. And so, like I said, we're on 5 at this point, and it's December 1995. But the first one was actually May 1995. And so only a few of these, these were kind of filling those gaps in before we had the monthly pay-per-views and things like that. And so having a match at that first one, also, and then King of the Ring beating Lawler in the Kiss My Foot match, as well as defeating who is the time, and we both know I'm searching for a dentist right now, Tom, that, everyone's favorite dentist, Isaac Yankem, though. And so beating Bret, beating him as well too in SummerSlam 1995. You really had the Lawler Hart feud continuing on for quite a bit, though. Kind of back and forth, things like that. Hart engaging, kind of had a short feud as well too with Jean-Pierre Lafitte, Pierre Alouette, the Quebecer, part of the Quebecers, all that good stuff. The Perfect Creation, PCO, whatever you want to call them, many names, things like that. Kind of a cool gimmick though, or kind of thing that he would do is he would, after Bret would put the mirrored sunglasses on someone, he would then steal the sunglasses off of that person at ringside. And so just kind of a cool kind of way to build heat and stuff like that. Like I've talked over the years of my love of not having a pair of Bret Hart sunglasses. And so stealing the sunglasses off the fan that he gave the sunglasses to is just a real chicken shit heel move. That's really smart actually. And so it had a match in your house 3 at this point. And so, and that one would have been in September. So we're getting closer and closer to the year end at this one. And so challenging for the championship at this point too, beating Diesel. It was actually a no DQ match at Survivor Series. And so at this point, it is his third reign as the WWF champion at this point. And so, and like we said a little bit here, and we've referenced it a few times now already, even last week's episode. This is a rematch of their SummerSlam 1992 match, almost 3 years later. It feels crazy to be thinking about that. And so Bulldog, though, that year, entering the Rumble, he was actually the second entrant in 1995. This is, again, just it was the wonky finish, if you will, the kind of shenanigans finish with Sean and Bret, or excuse me,
No. You got
okay. Am I misremembering it? Go ahead.
Wrong. The better man won.
Yeah, of course.
Rated early. It was his own fault. Sean did nothing wrong.
So as you remember, Tom and I apparently are misremembering. One of us not remembering this correctly, but of course, Davey Boy Bulldog tossing Michaels over the top rope and celebrating, as Tom said, going over to the other corner. But as the replay showed,
Royal Rumble celebration.
Yes, Tom is correct. The replay showed it. Only one of Michael's feet hit the floor, intentional or not, we'll never know, but only that 1 foot hitting the floor. And so then him able to re-enter the ring and dump Davey Boy out to win. And so great performance though, but of course there's got to be just setting us up really for a lifelong, dealing with shenanigans in the Royal Rumble. Tom would disagree, but the right man won. So, and so you had Bulldog actually teaming with Lex Luger for a little bit. They were the Allied Powers. Really not successful though. They only wrestled on 2 pay-per-views actually as a tag team at WrestleMania 11, where Bret had his Backlund match. They defeated the Blue Brothers. Did not remember the Blue Brothers on this one, the Harris Brothers, if you will. And so they had that. And dealing with that. And then going on to, it was actually In Your House 2, where they lost to Owen Hart and Yokozuna. And so feuding with Men on a Mission. And so we've had some of those episodes, or some of, Mo on the episode before and dealing with, or on the show before. And so feuding with that. And then they just kind of fizzled out and it wasn't a whole thing. And and so just really not a big deal. And so, but at this point, you actually, it's important to remember that the Davey Boy coming into this match was the heel at this point. And so just something to remember as we're kind of watching this one. And so you had some stuff with Diesel lining up with Owen Hart and Yokozuna. And so when it came to the Allied Powers and Bulldog and stuff like that. So it's really like these guys weren't necessarily big time in each other's universes. Like you got Bret wrestling Backlund, but then you got Bulldog in a tag match at that WrestleMania that year. And so, nothing to really brag about there. But then you start getting into, the rematch from 1992, the year end. Bret really at these first few In Your Houses, Bret was a major focus of the In Your House pay-per-views. And so, it's just something to take away with all that. And then we get this match and here we are.
I'm pumped to cover it, man. This could be a good one.
Absolutely.
So we are at the 1 hour and 27 mark of In Your House 5. Jeff, are you ready?
1 hour, 27. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's do it. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, Bret's there. Got the title. Still rocking the shades. Kisses the title as usual. Time to go give those sunglasses out.
Yep.
Yes, the official now.
Great theme song.
WWF title and some lucky youngster. There's a Christmas present for you.
Yeah, we've said this before, but Bret Hart was just a really good champion.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you were going to get a great match. You knew you were going to get something different each time. Big time fan favorite. Never really got hurt. I mean, he was just the kind of guy you want as champion. I wish they would have maybe trusted him a little bit more for a little bit longer. They should have really gone with him after WrestleMania 9, not done the Yokozuna Hulk Hogan bullshit. Like he should have had a nice run. But, we kind of went back and forth 9 and 10. And then by 11, the Bob Backlund stuff, we can go through all of it, but it's just, I just wish this guy would have had a good, year and a half, 2-year run as champion during this run. And I feel like they never got 100% behind him.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate. Like just kind of, every once in a while as we're doing these episodes, I go back to like the what if the screw job hadn't happened and it was amicable and stuff like that. Like, and of course we'll never know, but just kind of crazy how, that all played, up to this day, still crazy how it all played out. And, Bret, I'll never agree with Bret screwed Bret, but it's just weird to think about. Yeah.
So interestingly enough, Meltzer was speculating at this time that buy rates are down and WWF has sent out many surprising names for the Royal Rumble, like they've contacted. Of those were Dan Severn, who did come in later, Jake Roberts, who did come in, Ultimate Warrior, who did come in, Vader, who did come in, and then Rick Martel. I don't think he ever came back. But he did wrestle in WCW around this time. So it was just interesting. Of all those names, actually all of them except Rick Martel did end up coming in, and Jake and Vader were in like right around this time. I mean, by WrestleMania. So kind of interesting that they did bring all those guys back, in this era. Question for you.
Go.
Who is Bret Hart's greatest rival of all time?
Oh boy. That's hard to say. Are you spitballing here? You got a list? Are you looking at?
No. I just spitballing. I'm just curious what you think, and I can share what I think.
I think it has to be Sean. It's hard for me to really think of anybody else, but a bunch of people come to mind though. That's the thing. I guess that's the thing. I think he had a ton of really good run or, rivalries and things like that. And Sean makes sense, but then, Stone Cold jumps into my mind. Of course, you can't not say Owen in that list as well too. And
Davey Boy's, probably in the top 5 in that mix as well.
And I don't one of my all-time favorite matches that we've covered on the show is Mr. Perfect, but it wasn't a long rivalry. That was just some great matches. And so, of course, the SummerSlam match with them, just absolutely phenomenal match. And, kind of having that. It just so many names kind of come to mind. Well, and I think we talked about it a little bit here in the build. I think almost one that I don't think about very often, unless I'm reading some of this stuff, is Jerry Lawler. And we haven't covered his career a whole lot. We don't, of course, everybody, so many people associate him with commentary nowadays, but they had a long rivalry, extremely long, probably his longest one.
Yeah. And the matches weren't classics, but the promos and stuff were off the charts good.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
You really brought up a lot of good ones. I mean, I'd have to go with Sean, and obviously the asterisk being if Bret had stayed and if those two played a little bit nicer together, what could have been? I mean, those two could have had 5 all-time classic matches, and instead we got, the Iron Man match, and then we got the obviously the screw job. There was also the Survivor Series, I want to say 92 match when Bret was champion and Sean was IC champ. That might be a good one for us to go back and watch.
Yep.
But you just forget that, they did have a good feud, but gosh, what could have been. Another question for you. Bret Hart dream match that we never got. Is there a guy that you look at, current era, past era, realistic, not realistic, where you're like, wow, I would have loved to have seen Bret work with someone?
I don't know. God, of course, there's the big names. It would have been incredible to watch him take on Daniel Bryan. I think you got, the submission kind of style and watching the two of them kind of go at it. Same with I think, who could wrestle anybody? AJ Styles. If you were able to kind of put them in a match and dream book something like that, I think something like that would be, incredible. I would not want to watch him. While he had a good, work rate against big guys, I would never want to see him against Brock or something like that. That would be,
wow, that would have been an awesome match.
It would have been. Yeah. And that's the thing. I shit on it, but it probably would have been the best match out of that and stuff like that. And so, I don't think too, did he wrestle Kurt?
No, they never wrestled.
And so
that was the one I was, I had pretty high on my list, is to see Bret Hart and Kurt Angle. I would have also liked to have seen at the right time in the WWF, Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan.
That would have been really, the other odd one too. Did he ever wrestle Eddie? I don't think he did.
I don't believe so.
That one would have been really good to see too. And then, there's just so, I'm thinking in my head now, of course, you just wished, I think. And then even generation before him, could you imagine if you did even a Brian Jr. today, kind of homage to, his dad, doing a Flying Brian match when, at that era would have been great. Yeah. The Hogan stuff. Yeah. That would have been got a young Jim Cornette. Crazy. Yeah.
And same with, and he may have wrestled against Randy Savage. I'm sure they did at some point, but, a big macho man, Bret Hart, at some point would have been cool too. But, I just wish that during that era, I wish that, Bret Hart would have had a big signature title win. I would have loved to have seen him actually go over Hogan. That's who Hogan would have put over, but he was going to do it dirty to Yokozuna, and anyways.
Well, and I figured because after he left, he would have been there for young Cena. He would have been there for, young Brock too. Like Kurt Angle, he would have been had the screw job not going to happen. So that's quite the thing to think about, of just like kind of who he would have taken on and stuff like that. And I think too, like even that like 1992, 93 era with Hogan, like the what ifs, just crazy.
Well, and keep in mind that, Bret, who knows how long he would have wrestled had he not gotten injured.
Mm-hmm.
So, he wrestled, I'm just pulling it up right now. His last match was 2011. Interestingly enough, he did when he like quote unquote came back against Vince, he wrestled 11 different matches. And a couple of them were on house shows where he was with like the Hart Dynasty.
Yes.
So he ended up, this is pretty crazy. So his last WCW match was 2000. October 1st of 2000.
Okay.
No contest, 10 minutes. He was champion, world heavyweight champion against Kevin Nash. Okay. So that was it. So, when you start doing some of these dream matches and go, oh, well, if he would have wrestled Kurt Angle or Eddie or, Cena, keep in mind, Bret was still wrestling in 2000. Now, if Goldberg hadn't, given him that errant kick and he wouldn't have got hurt, how much longer would he have wrestled? Well, who the hell knows? But maybe 2001, maybe 2002. Then you start getting into, the Triple H's and Shawn when he came back and, like an Edge, it's really interesting to think about. But anyways, so he wrestled, he did that match versus Vince. Then he won the U.S. title against The Miz.
Yep.
There was a lumberjack match on Raw where he tagged with Cena. He was in that SummerSlam match with Nexus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He wrestled on 6 different house shows overseas. Kind of interesting. One of them was in Madison Square Garden. And then actually, when he was with Hart Dynasty, Lawler was a special guest referee for one of those. That's fun.
Yeah.
And then one more match on Raw. Him and Cena defeated Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez in 3 minutes on December 9th, 2011. So that was the final match of his career.
Bret wrestled Alberto.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Wow. Yeah. Like that's like shocking. And I only say because Alberto was just in the news again, of course, not too long ago for the wrong reasons. And so, I'm going to have to look that one up because I do not remember that at all.
So greatest matches of Bret Hart's career. He has 2 5-star matches, Steel Cage with Owen and then WrestleMania 13 with Austin.
Makes sense. Yep.
2 4 3/4-star matches. This one and one against Owen, WrestleMania 10. And then there's, 4.5-star matches with 1, 2, 3 Kid, which we need to watch.
Yep. I know it's on our list. I know that. Yep.
Survivor Series match against Austin. And then a match against Shawn, the 92 match. We got to watch the 92 match against Shawn. And then this match was ranked higher than their Wembley match. So kind of interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they've kind of been working. It's been a little bit, not slow. It's definitely been methodical. You've got the rest holds and things like that. We're seeing a little bit of that happening. Not, super fast paced. They've got him up on the top rope. I'm enjoying the split screen here too with Davey Boy's wife. And so, of course, having to be a part of the storyline. No doubt about that. So, but good stuff, but just kind of working hard. That's really all you can say.
Yeah. Obviously Bret brought out the best in Davey Boy.
Yeah, and that's where you hear about that too, and kind of what Bret does and things like that. And it's almost kind of, it's really interesting to me of like just how many, he's that guy that, in this era that we talk about now of like, he just wouldn't have a bad match. He's like an AJ Styles. Like he just would never have a bad match with, you can put him with anybody and you're going to get a show. Like, and I think that like, I can't really think of a whole lot of other guys in this area or era that you could necessarily say the same about.
So I got a good Meltzer one for you.
Let's do it. I know your buddy. Yeah.
I'm going to read this word for word. In many ways, it was almost remarkable how well Vince McMahon appeared to handle the 93-94 steroid trial. But at the age of 49 or 50, depending upon which birthday one chooses to believe, I don't know what the backstory on that is, by the way.
It's probably some personal bullshit. Okay. Yeah.
That fight took a lot out of the man. He's already got a major fight in wrestling, one that inevitably the odds are against him, WCW, because he's trying to use brains to combat money. And in wrestling, brains usually wins out in the short run, but in the long run, money's hard to beat. McMahon's acknowledgement in a recent interview that he would consider moving Raw to another night to avoid competition shows he recognizes this himself. So Meltzer's saying that 49 or 50 years old, Vince is really kind of beaten down as a man. He's also predicting that WCW, because they have so much money, is going to end up beating the WWF in the long run.
Yeah.
And then he says that Raw might move to another night.
Sure.
How did those three predictions work out?
I guess if you call Raw NXT and NXT moves 2 years ago, then sure. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
So at 50 years old, Meltzer's wondering how much gas is left in the tank for Vince McMahon. Okay.
At 50.
That was 26 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say that some of these takes, every once in a while he'll hit one right, but then every once in a while too, he'll have someone like that and it does not hit right.
It was interesting. So, because this was like the year end 95 issue, it's interesting because, he was summarizing the year and he said, in 95, who would have ever predicted WCW would get a TV slot against Raw head to head and beat them in the ratings?
Yep.
Then we had over 300,000 people attend 2 nights of Collision in Korea.
Yep.
UFC was already getting higher pay-per-view ratings than the WWF or WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty interesting.
Just weird. Some of the hot takes. I know we talk about it, but yeah, just ridiculous. So these guys, again, they're working like, I feel like they're working hard, but it's just not I don't know. The wrestling itself, they're just working hard. So Bret, pretty bloody here too, in the ring as well. That's something that we'll talk about after the match here in the blood, because unexpected. And so the big part of what's happening with that too, as well. So,
it is funny. Like when they bleed hard ways, it's kind of interesting because, if it were a basketball game, you wouldn't let a guy bleed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I guess in but even in like a UFC or boxing, like they have a corner guy, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So, you don't just keep competing while bleeding really in any sport.
And the blood actually became a big part of the storyline after the fact. Yeah. And so, but we'll get there. We'll talk about that, but yeah. Just interesting, and the ring mat looks like just covered in it as well too. Like
and Davey Boy's tights.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I remember from the
Union Jack. Yeah, it's like getting that like that red. They're not that bright white anymore. They're kind of
outside.
Bret just took a big spill outside.
Yep. The blood all over him. Yep.
Bret's bleeding.
And the British Bulldog
can't win the title.
Go ahead, ref, stop it. I want it. The official.
Olin wants him to stop the match because of blood.
Earl Hebner. Yep, making the call on this one.
Yeah, Bret's about as bloody as you've ever seen Bret. There's a lot of blood on the outside. A lot of blood in the ring. Blood all over Davey Boy's hands.
So he's ringside at this point too, and we've talked about him at Dark Side of the Ring. One person we've not talked about is Jim Cornette. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, I think as a person, he's really obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't dislike him. I mean, look, the guy's outspoken and opinionated. So there's times I agree with him. There's times I disagree with him. Oh, well, he's earned the right to have a platform. If you don't like him, don't listen to him. But I think he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the business. And again, you don't have to agree with everything, but I thought great heel manager, super passionate about the business. You never need to know where he sits on opinions of things. Sometimes you agree with him, sometimes you don't. And guess what? Sometimes people forget, Jeff, this is a industry that's based on, provocative, acted out things. So, sometimes he's just working the fans, right?
Yep.
Like, I think he clowns on the Young Bucks a lot, right? Like, how much of that does he believe, and how much of that is he's just fucking with people? But he'll get, he'll start a firestorm. I mean, it's got to be fun to just screw with people,
Yeah, how much are we getting to work type thing? I actually I think he was fantastic and is fantastic on Dark Side of the Ring, because I think some of the shit he talks about, he's got he doesn't care. He doesn't have to care. He doesn't care. Everyone can have their opinions, and to him, you don't have to mine. Oh yeah, big. That was the
power slam,
running power slam on the outside. Blood and sweat and everything on the outside. Yep.
Bret Hart. I didn't think anyone could finish the Hitman.
Nice to see Cornette celebrating the holidays with the tennis racket and a Santa-covered kind of case, if you will. Oh, we don't see this anymore. It's been a long time. Probably NXT was the last time we saw it. But Bulldog pulling back the mat on the outside. Yep, just something we don't see a whole lot of anymore. Remember just thinking too, oh my God, this is terrifying. This pulling back the mat was just the worst possible thing that a wrestler could do. Oh, and Bret hanging him up on the guardrail where the sun don't shine. Yep, and big clothesline then. Yeah, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if you take a move on the
front row's just going nuts.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, she's pissed.
Yep. Boy, yeah, get him in there. Look at her. Yeah. We all now know the hardest part of the ring is that outside, outside the ropes on the ring. But boy, back in the day, it was you pull the mats back. That is the hardest part of the arena. That you were going to feel that.
Yeah, you've used this word a few times, but this is a war.
Yeah, and this is kind of this match. I feel like New Japan does this a lot. I mean, this has taken them a little while to get cooking, but now we're cooking. There's a hard hitting, again, another strong match, or just stiff match. Excuse me. And these guys really just pounding on each other, but really good stuff. Yeah. Every once in a while, it takes a little bit of time for the water to get boiling. Whoa, wow. Hello. A big sell from Bulldog, kind of flipping into the corner, which is one of those great Shawn Michaels sells as well, too. Oh, man.
Hey, you and I really haven't talked about it, but any quick thoughts on all this Jeff Hardy stuff?
It's unfortunate. It's sad. I think, again, we don't know the full story. I hope he gets the help he needs. I think eventually we will see him. Big top rope suplex from Bret. Eventually we will see him in AEW. I think he needs to be around his brother, which will be helpful and stuff like that. And it's, we talk about it, it's a disease, he's, we've heard, you and I both read the dirt sheets of he didn't want to go to rehab, which, and then his wife kind of tweeted, nope. Oh, rolled through. Nope. He kicked out though. I love Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy he's so over with the crowd still. And it's almost unfortunate that Vince just didn't pull the trigger on him. And so, weird to say that, but
this is why he didn't.
And that's what I was going to say is how much of you got to wonder, is this where Vince's apprehension was you can't
be a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company that has one of the faces of your brand on national network television in a product aimed for kids that does this.
Yeah.
So, I thought the same thing, man. Can he maybe have a title run? Could he, maybe have another shot? Could he at least do a program with, wow.
Unbelievable.
Got him. Yeah. But both guys just spent.
Diana cannot believe she can.
Yeah, there you go. Sitting ringside. Yep.
Hell of a match.
Defeated by her brother. Bret the Hitman Hart, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently
Bret is just down.
go to the Royal Rumble.
But Bulldog looking strong. He's already on the outside of the ring.
Real strong, yeah.
And the Undertaker will be standing by momentarily for a very special interview.
Real good.
And Davey Boy's
Really good. Yeah,
Okay.
just to close the loop on this. I mean, you're right. I mean, you feel bad. You know, obviously he didn't want to get help or at least didn't want to go to, rehab. You know, they want to do something else. We don't know what's going on. But yeah, I felt bad, was hoping this would all end a little bit better than it did. And it's too bad, especially just seeing him on Austin's podcast and, talking openly about this stuff. And seemingly it felt like it was in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's unfortunate just to kind of see how it's, where it is now. But okay. All right. Let me get into it.
Yeah, let's get into the aftermath.
Oh, it's time for the aftermath.
So initial thoughts.
Yeah, I need to stop kind of discrediting a match early, because even like New Japan and watching like some of those 30, 40, 50, 60 minute matches, like it takes 30, 40, 50, 60 minute matches to like get cooking. And so my brother and I talk about this all the time. Like by the end of that match, like they were cooking, like it was on, it was great. They were doing all kinds of moves. They were kind of beating the crap out of each other. And it was just absolutely fantastic. And so maybe, and that was the dig against it. And I forget what the review said. I'll read them in a second here. I wrote the notes a little bit ago, but it may be a slower start, but that's what these guys are. That's just, Bret and Bulldog and doing it. But by the end of it, they were, really moving well and putting on a good show.
I'm just watching the end of this. They got Diesel and Taker in a backstage thing. Obviously,
the mask Taker. Yeah.
The Phantom of the Opera Taker. I think this is where he would, cost Taker that match. They'd go on to WrestleMania 12. Then Diesel's out the door. So an interesting time to be a fan for sure.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But no, hell of a match.
Okay, so what kind of happened after this? Kind of what did we get into here? Of course, you had Bret losing to, as we just saw, The Undertaker at the 1996 Royal Rumble. After this one, of course, Diesel interfering, and so retaining the championship. Again, just Diesel and Undertaker, Bret kind of interfering with each other, kind of dealing with that. Hart, again, beating Diesel is actually a steel cage match at In Your House 6, the next one. And then Hunter Hearst Helmsley as well too, Triple H. And so actually he was undefeated at the time, beating him on Raw. And so having that. And then we get into, of course, it was, a good start to 1996, but then we get into, like you said, WrestleMania 12, getting the match between Shawn, who had earned the championship match opportunity because of the Royal Rumble, and us getting the 60-minute Iron Man match there. So, but you had it though, again, Davey Boy, Bulldog. It was that 1996 Royal Rumble that Shawn ended up winning. He was actually one of the final four, with Shawn eliminating him again. He lost to Yokozuna. It was actually by DQ after Vader interfered with his match. And so that's where you get the WrestleMania 12 Bulldog, Vader, and Owen Hart defeating Yokozuna, Ahmed Johnson, and Jake Roberts. Kind of weird to see the trajectory of these two men, where you've got Bulldog in a triple threat, or three-way or 3-on-3 tag match, and Bret wrestling a 60-minute match, one of his matches of his career and stuff like that. And so, and Bulldog continuing to have tag matches in Your House 7 and things like that. And then you get into of course, the Diana, storyline as well too, with Michaels hitting on her and things like that. And so the two of them feuding as well, ended up in a draw. They had a match, King of the Ring as well too. Michaels beating him at that one. And then Davey Boy going on to have the tag team match with Owen Hart as well too, them winning the tag teams championship from the Smoking Guns. So
they were a fun tag team.
They were a very fun tag team. I think just the trajectory of kind of where they saw Davey Boy versus like, Bulldog. I just don't think they saw him on the same level, obviously, because, you can tell just from the matches they had after this, which unfortunate because I loved Bulldog growing up. I thought it was great. I thought the running power slam was a great finisher, all that. And so, yeah. So, all right. PWI that year, this was 1995. So at the end of the year, you had Bret at number 4, Bulldog at number 39. And so kind of interesting there. Pro Wrestling Torch had this one in a very good finale to an otherwise mediocre card. Bret defeated Bulldog to retain the title. During that match, Bret bled, which was the first time in years that blood had been a part of a storyline of a match. The blood is surprising in light of WWF's strong statement against what they referred to as outdated, barbaric, quote, geeking. It appeared, though, that Bret may have actually used a blood capsule rather than actually cut himself. He bled heavily early, yet didn't bleed a lot afterward. If it was just a capsule of fake blood, it would qualify as an effective special effect rather than a dangerous step back in the evolution of wrestling. Funny to see where it went after this. Bret Hart pinned the Bulldog. So the match began as most 20-minute matches do, slowly with a quote feel out process. Yep. And so 4 stars on that one. Getting the Observer newsletter on this one. The show from Hershey, PA was like 2 different shows. The first show before a crowd was almost a complete mess. One bad match after another, one bad segment after another, total lack of crowd heat. It seemed like one was watching a dying company like the AWA at the end. Then came the main event with Bret versus Davey Boy Smith. The match was nothing short of fantastic and featured a return of return of WWF of Heavy Juice by Bret. Announcer Vince McMahon, apparently in an effort to play both sides of the coin, ordered wide shots and apologized about the blood, I guess to placate the cable people who don't want blood on wrestling's pay-per-views, while also trying to get over a rougher style because the old style just didn't cut it anymore. So interesting, Vince trying to play kind of both sides. So you got 4.5 stars actually from Meltzer on that one. So you got 4 stars from the PW Torch, 4.5 stars from the Observer newsletter. I went first last week, Tom, so I will give you the honor, sir.
I have this at an 8.5.
Okay.
Great story, just the obviously what led up to this, what would happen after, their careers, how they're linked together, both together and as adversaries. I thought this match was great. I thought it was better than the Wembley match. I don't love blood all the time, but I thought the blood really just made this feel gruesome. I thought, that's as good as you're ever going to see Davey Boy in the ring. That was just another level. I really, really like this a lot. What about you?
By the end of it, yeah, I was sold. I think you could probably tell from just how I was kind of talking about it and stuff like that. I think this one was it was absolutely worth it. It kept building on itself. It was, they grew it into just a really great match and kind of that slow burn that made it absolutely worth it. And so me personally, I'm with you. I'm going to give it an 8, I think, because we didn't really talk about it. If I had to pick, I don't know if I'd pick this one or their previous match. And so I think they were both good for different reasons. And so, 3 years later, who's in their prime, stuff like that, just very interesting to kind of see. And so, I'm going to go with an 8 on this one. I think it was really good. It was, as I say, I haven't said it in a while, and I'll close out 2021 by saying it like I was sports entertained.
Agreed. I mean, that's what you want.
What more can you say? Yeah.
Yep. Good.
All right.
So, final show of 2021.
Yes. Happy New Year.
We're back next week in the new year with a match I definitely have not seen.
Yep.
I'm very excited to see. Tell everyone what they can expect next week.
I am finally getting my wish of covering this match. I texted my brother and told him about it. He was super excited. We're sneaking in a New Japan match here. It's going to be fantastic. It's one of the better ones between two greats from Wrestle Kingdom 10. We are going to watch AJ Styles take on the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura. Great storyline, lots happening. This was just before their WWE days. And so a lot to talk about. I'm going to carry this one, but I hope Tom enjoys this one, and I hope you do too. So
I'm pumped, man.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.